on the Lesson 28 problem set, and this is actually going to be part 1. We're going to be using this problem set for 2 different lessons, so please make sure that you're keeping up with all of your papers so that you can reference this sheet again for the lesson that we'll be doing again with Lesson 28. The first thing that it says on the paper, it says that the chart to the right shows the distance 4th graders in Miss Smith's class were able to run before stopping for a rest. And it asks us to create a line plot to display the data in the table. So if we're creating a line plot and we're wanting to represent the data in the table, I kind of need to look at the data in the table so I can figure out the best way to create my line plot. In looking at the data here, I see a couple of different things. I see some fractions with some denominators over half. I see some fourths. I see some eighths. I see some fourths again, some eighths. It seems to me like I have a lot of eighths and I have a 1 out of a half and then some fourths. So the best bet that I think that we have would be to convert the numbers that are out of halves or fourths into denominators of eighths. That way we're dealing with common denominators across all of our data, and it's easier for us to interpret the data and track it. So I'm kind of going to go down the list, and I'm going to work my math to this side just so I know for sure that I'm getting the correct information. So if I have 2 and a half, how can I get 2 eighths? Well, I can take this 2 and a half and I can multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same number. That's really important when we have equivalent fractions. So I can multiply the numerator and the denominator by 4. So now I have 2 and 4 eighths for Joe. Ariana, she is 1 and 3/4. I can multiply the numerator and denominator by 2 here and get 1 and 6/8. Bobby's is the same. It's out of eighths already, so there's no need for us to change it. Same for Morgan, 1 and 5/8 and Jack. Sasha's here is 2 and 1/4, so I need to change hers into a denominator of eighths. I'm going to multiply the numerator and denominator by 2. And I'm going to have 2 and 2/8 here. Same for Tyler. I'm going to multiply the numerator and the denominator by 2. So now I have 2 and 4/8 here. Jenny has 5/8. Anson has 2 and 2/8. And then Chandra has 2 and 4/8. So now when I look at my data, every single person's distance is out of eighths. It's going to be a lot easier for me to track and also to chart on my line plot. Now, when we make a line plot, we are wanting to mark and show, like, and track a pattern to display our data. And we're trying to see, like, what trends we have. Is there a distance that was occurring more frequently than another distance? Or did somebody run the furthest or the fastest, the furthest in miles? And so the best way to do that when we make our line plot is to kind of create a key somewhere to show what we're wanting to show and how we're going to mark each student. So the first thing that I need to do when I draw my line plot, and I'm going to try really hard to keep this data on there for you all so you can see it. I need to draw my line as straight as you possibly can to the side. And I need to figure out, like, what points am I going to put on here? So I know I have 2 and 4/8. I know that I have 5/8 down here, so I need to show somewhere between 0 and 3 on my line plot. When I show that, I need to make sure that I'm putting marks in between each point to represent eighths, because that's the fractional unit that I'm using as my denominator. So I'm going to slide my screen over and work on my line plot. So I'm going to start with 0. And then I'm going to put 7 tick marks in between. So this represents 1/7 or 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8. And then what would be 8/8 also represents our whole number 1. And I'm going to start the process again. 1 1/8, 1 2/8, 1 3/8, 1 4/8, 1 5/8, 1 6/8, 1 7/8, and then 2. 2 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, 3. So now I have my line plot, and I need to make sure that I have my spots here so I can mark my points. And then I want to put below what I'm going to be tracking. I'm tracking the distance in miles. And I want to add a title because if somebody were to look at this line plot, I would want them to know what kind of information they were looking at. So it asks us to give information on Ms. Smith's class and the distance that they were running. So that would be something we could incorporate in our title. We could say distance Miss Smith's fourth graders ran. Now, something really, really important about a line plot is that we need to make sure that when we're plotting our numbers, that we're marking them in such a way that if we go back and look, we can count if there is a pattern or there's a certain distance that occurred more than one time. So down here at the bottom, I'm going to put that if I mark with an X over a certain number, that X represents one student. One student. So now that I have my line plot set up, I have the distance Miss Smith's fourth graders ran, my title. I have that each of these numbers represent the distance in miles, and that any X that I put on my line plot would represent one student. We've done all of our math over here to the side where we have everything now out of a common denominator of 8. I think we're ready to begin tracking and marking on our line plot. So I'm going to start with Joe, and I'm just going to work my way down. And as I go, I want to put a check mark beside each person's name just to make sure I don't miss anybody and leave anybody out, because I want to make sure my data is correct and accurate. So Joe ran 2 4/8 miles. So I'm going to go look for the number 2. And remember, I've included my marks to be measured in eighths. So I'm going to start right here with 2. Let me see if I can make this a little bit clearer here. Maybe that'll help. I'm at 2, and I'm going to count. Well, number 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 4/8. So underneath it, I'm going to write 2 4/8. And I'm going to put 1 X there. Because remember, down here I said that the X represents one student, and Joe is one student. And so beside Joe's name, I'm going to put a check. I've graphed his information. Now I can look at Ariana. She's 1 6/8. So I'm going to continue to do the same. I'm going to go to my whole number 1. Then in between here it's by eighths. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1 6/8. Now I'm going to put an X. And then beside her name, I'm also going to put a check. Bobby was 2 1/8. So the whole number 2. I have 1/8 here. 2 1/8. Put an X. And we're going to continue down until we have everyone's information and data. Morgan is 1 5/8. So look, I see where 6/8 is, and 5/8 is 1 less than 6/8. So I can just scoot back 1 5/8. Put a mark here. And then again, I'm going to check off because I want to make sure I don't leave anybody behind and I have all my information correct. Then I have 2 5/8 for Jack. Oh, look, I've already listed 2 4/8. 5/8 is 1 more than 4/8. So I can mark that here. Mark off Jack. Sasha is 2 2/8. Tyler is 2 4/8. And look, we already have 2 4/8 with an X. And if we've already got that listed, remember our X represents one student. So over top of the 4/8, we need to like stack one more X up there. That represents another person. So we can check off Tyler. Then we have Jenny. She has 5/8. So we need to, I'm going to scooch over just a little bit here. Start at 0 and count up 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8. Put an X for Jenny. Mark her off. Anson is 2 2/8. So again, we already have that listed here. So I'm going to put another X over 2 2/8. And then Chandra is 2 4/8. And so I'm going to find my 2 4/8 spot again. And I'm going to add one more mark. And just to double check that I didn't miss anybody and that all my data is listed here and correct, I'm going to go through and count. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And over here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 students. So we have successfully created our line plot for today. Please hold on to this paper. We're going to revisit this tomorrow. We're going to talk about interpreting our data and discuss it. If you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to reach out to me. Let your parents reach out to me. And I love you very much. Awesome job, guys.